Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Janna Vallabha Givanodari Gopi Janna Vallabha Givanodari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivanodari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivanodari Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivanodari Sodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Sodanandana Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Tira Yamuna Tira Vanachari Janavaspad Paramahamsa Prabhupada Asatra Shriman. His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivinoda Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki, Ananta Gaudiya Vaishnava Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasati Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Samakun Radhakun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Shri Maya Purnavidham Ki Jai, Ganga Maya Ki Jai, Jamuna Maya Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai, Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Gau Premanandi. All glorious Sama devotees, all glorious Sama devotees, all glorious Sama devotees. All glorious to Shishi Guru and Sri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This morning reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 29, verse number 3. Yo Vigyan Haratas Tasya Purusasya Shakrishvara Yan Na Vigyanyate Pumbir Dhamabir Va Kriya Gunay Yo Vigyataratastasya Purusasya Sakeshvaraha Yanna Vigyayate Pumbir Dhamabir Va Kriya Gunay Yo Vigyataratastasya Purusasya Sakeshvaraha Yanna Vigyayate Pumbir Dhamabir Va Kriya Gunay Yo Vigyataratastasya Purusasya Sakeshvaraha Yanna Vigyayate Pumbir Dhamabir Va Kriya Gunay Yo Vigyataratastasya Purusasya Sakeshvaraha Yanna Vigyayate Pumbir Ya, he who, avigyata, unknown, ahrita, described, tasya, of him, purusasya, of the living entity, shakha, the eternal friend, Ishvara, the master, yet, because, na, never, vigyate, is understood, Pumbir, by the living entities, Namabhihi, and by names, Va, or Kriya Gunai, by activities or qualities. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada Ki. The person I have described as unknown is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Master and Eternal Friend of the living entity. Since the living entities cannot realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead by material names, activities, or qualities, He remains everlastingly unknown to the conditioned soul. Purport. Because the Supreme Personality of Godhead is unknown to the conditioned soul, He is sometimes described in the Vedic literatures as Nirakar, Abhigyata or Avanmanasa Gochara. Actually, it is a fact that the Supreme Personality of Godhead cannot be perceived by material senses as far as his form, name, quality, pastimes, or paraphernalia are concerned. However, when one is spiritually advanced, one can understand the name, form, qualities, pastimes, and paraphernalia of the Supreme Lord. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 18:55. Bhaktya mamam janati yavanyas chasmi tatvata. One can understand in truth the Supreme Personality of God only when one is engaged in devotional service. Ordinary persons engaged in pious and impious activities cannot understand the form, name, and activities of the Lord. The devotee, however, can know the personality of God in many respects. He can understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that his address is Goloka Vrindavan, and that his activities are all spiritual. He's got a phone number too. What's his phone number? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. He can understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that his address is Goloka Vrindavan, and his activities are all spiritual. Because the Lord's form and activities cannot be understood by materialistic people, he is described by the Shastras as Nirakar. That is, one whose form cannot be ascertained by a materialistic person. This does not mean that the Supreme Personality of God has no form. It means that it is not understood by the karmis or fruitive actors. His form is described in Brahma Samhita as Satchit Ananda Vigraha, Brahma Samhita 5.1, as confirmed by the Padma Purana. Atashi Krishna Namadi Nabhaved Graimendu Sevan Mukha Jivada Svayam Eva Spratyada. No one can understand Krishna as he is by utilizing the blunt material senses. However, the Lord reveals himself to his devotees, being pleased with them because of their transcendental loving service rendered unto him. Since the name, form, qualities, and activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna cannot be understood by the material senses, he is also called Adhoksaja, meaning beyond sense perception. When the senses are purified by devotional activity, the devotee understands everything about the Lord by the Lord's grace. In this verse, the words Pumbir, Namabir, Va, Kriyai, Gunai are especially significant because God, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of God, has many names, activities, and qualities, although none of them are material. Despite the fact that all these names, activities, and pastimes are mentioned in the Shastras and understood by the devotees, the karmis, fruitive laborers, cannot understand them, nor can the jnanis, mental speculators, understand them. Although there are thousands of names of Lord Vishnu, the karmis and jnanis intermingle the names of the Supreme Personality of Godhead with the names of the demigods and human beings. Because they cannot understand the actual name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they take for granted that any name can be accepted. They believe that since the Absolute Truth is impersonal, they can call him by any name. Otherwise, they maintain he has no name. This is not a fact. Here it is clearly stated, Namabir Va Kriya Gunai. The Lord has specific names such as Rama, Krishna, Govinda, Narayan, Vishnu, and Adhoksaja. There are indeed many names, but the conditioned soul cannot understand them. Om Jnanatamarandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshur Mulitam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Mukham Krotavachalam Pongam Hayate Gurim Yat Kripa Taraham Bande Shigarim Dinataranam Vanchakapatribhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasri Gaurva. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Here, Narada's explaining this amazing analogy of Puranjana. 4 chapters it took, Bhagavatam. It's pretty amazing. So previously he said he couldn't understand it, he couldn't appreciate it. So now Narada's gradually, he's explaining this analogy. And the first thing he points out here is that the unknown friend is a super soul, as we heard in many of the purports Prabhupada was giving. So this is the unknown friend. There's billions of people around the world that aren't aware of their unknown friend, their best friend. So, therefore, it's kind of our duty to go out and we remind them who their best friend is by this book distribution. So many people have been reminded of who their very, very best friend is. And this is to get this knowledge, to get the science of self-realization or Bhagavad Gita. They get a chance to hear about Krishna. So this is the beginning. Adau shraddha tatasharu sangata bhajanakriya tato narta nimittis tato nishta ruchistataha. That in the beginning, people get some preliminary faith. Yeah. And this comes in many ways. Getting a book. In the beginning of our society, the way people got their faith in Krishna was mainly by Harinam. Devotees were doing Harinam for hours a day, and people were attracted. And so many people joined our society because devotees are doing Harinam. So this is a great way to spread Krishna consciousness. The Harinam, book distribution. And now, of course, we have internet. There's a devotee in Russia, makes thousands of devotees. Audarya Dham. He's a doctor. So he goes in subtly, psychology and health, and then he puts Krishna. And he's so expert. He's made thousands of devotees. Internet. Yeah. So many ways that people get their preliminary faith. Yeah. Prasadam. People get prasadam. What did Prabhupada say prasadam was? Secret weapon. Because everybody is attracted to nice foodstuffs. And when they get prasadam, they get purified. And another way that people get their preliminary faith is college preaching. This is the probably the most successful way that devotees have made devotees in India. College preaching. It's like Radhanath Swami, he's such a genius. And he focuses the devotees there in Chapati on college preaching, and they made so many devotees. One devotee, one of the senior disciples of Radhanath Swami, told me that they have about 40 branches around the world that have come from Chapati and Pune. Pune also is another. Pune temple, they got like over 100 brahmacharis and thousands of congregational members. So this is kind of like, but that's a branch of Chapati. Yeah. College preaching. So and high class, high class, intelligent people just joining like anything. Last I heard they had 40 or 50 devotees waiting in line to join the ashram in the Chapati temple, which already has 100. It's like amazing. So college preaching, book distribution, Harinam, Prasadam distribution, people get their preliminary faith. So once they get this preliminary faith, Adau Shraddha Tashadhu, then they associate with devotees. They want to associate with devotees. And when you associate with devotees, then they learn about devotional service. And giving up bad habit. Devotional service. This is what it's all about. This is what our whole movement is about. Engaging in devotional service. So anybody that comes into the fold of devotees, they learn quickly about devotional service, that we have to do what we're doing for the pleasure of Krishna. Yeah. And then now those three aren't that difficult, to get some preliminary faith. It's like a lot of people have faith in Krishna. We're distributing books, and so many. I was distributing to one person, and she saw the book Science of Self-Realization on the table, and she said, "Oh, you're with SRS, Self-Realization Fellowship?" No, I'm Hare Krishna. And she said, "Oh, better." So people are appreciating Krishna consciousness, and this devotee, what's his name? The communications Anuttama Prabhu. He wrote a nice thing after this crisis we had last week. Beautiful. He sent it out to other to the news and to other groups, and really much appreciated. So people are appreciating more and more this movement, because it's a nice philosophy and nice people. So more and more, actually Prabhupada said in the beginning, they'll laugh at us, then they'll hate us, and then they'll love us. So I think we're going in that direction. People are more and more, I think they're beginning to love the devotees. Yeah. And you know what people like the most? They did a survey in Miami. What the people like the most about the Hare Krishnas? What you did yesterday, Harinam. People like that. Yeah. We're the only group in the world that goes around the streets of the world. We're singing and dancing. No one else does that. It's great. People like it. Yeah. So giving up bad habits. And now it gets difficult. Giving up bad habits. This is it's like habits are second nature. To give them up is very difficult. So we're trying to change the bad habits with good habits. Just like most of us, we used to take rest late, right? And get up late. It's a bad habit. It's not good. Now we change that. Now we're trying to take rest early and get up early. It's a good habit. Not easy sometimes. Even sometimes years go through and devotees have a hard time. But it's a good thing. Even old Benjamin Franklin, Bhakti Ben, said, early to bed, early to rise, makes a person healthy, wealthy, and wise, Krishna conscious. So yeah, it's good. So we replaced bad habits with good habits. We used to eat so many horrible things. Yeah. So we gave those all up. Now we're eating nice Krishna prasadam. Good habit. Purifying also. So Dao Sharata Dasar Sangata Bhajana Kriya Taton Arthamritisa Taton Nishja Uchistata. Then we get firm faith. Once we give up these bad habits, then we get firm faith in Krishna. Nishta. And then we get a taste for the holy names of Krishna. Not easy to get a taste for the holy name, because we have this jaundice. Someone has jaundice, and you taste something sweet, and it's bitter. It's bitter. Yeah. But if you keep taking it, the sugar cane, right? Sugar cane juice, then eventually it becomes sweet again. So by this continual chanting and keeping taking this medicine, eventually it'll be sweet, and we'll want to chant more and more and more and more. So this will be the mercy of Krishna. And this is how we get to know him, by hearing about him. Bhakti Mam Janati Yavanyas Chasmi. Prabhupada mentions this verse in the purport, that one can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead as he is only by devotional service. This is what attracts Krishna. So if we engage in this service, then Krishna, he reveals himself. But if we're doing service, and we're doing it not to please Krishna, but to get some name, to get some fame, to get some recognition, then Krishna's not so pleased. I mean, he's pleased we're trying. But the more we give up this false ego, this false understanding that I'm the enjoyer, I'm the proprietor, this pleasure from name, fame, adoration, the more we give this up and just serve Krishna, the more we get revelations, we get realizations of Krishna. He reveals himself. So in the purport here, Prabhupada mentions this word nirakar a couple times. Because people don't understand God, even in other religions. They don't have such an understanding of God, so they think God is formless. Yeah. No, because they don't understand God. But we're so fortunate. We get all this information. Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's as clear as day. I mean, just so easy to understand. God is a person. He has a form. We could speak to God. We could have a relationship with God. So this is the great treasure that Srila Prabhupada has brought to us. And he's known by activities, by our activities, by this service to Krishna. Now the Christians, they say it's not by works alone that we can attain God, and it's true. It's not just by works. It's the devotion behind the work, not just working, but working with devotion. This is how Krishna reveals himself. And it's described that the Brahmanas, they give direction to the rest of society. Prabhupada said this is called lazy intelligence. There's lazy intelligence, there's active intelligence, there's a lazy fool, and there's an active fool. So the Brahmana, he's a lazy intelligent. He just instructs. He instructs society. And Prabhupada gave the example just like a judge. He sits at the up there at his the high court seat there, and he's just giving judgment. He gets paid a lot of money, and he's just speaking, just giving judgment. So the Brahman is like that. He's just speaking, and he's giving direction to the rest of society. Lazy intelligence. So then there's active intelligence. That's the Kshatriya. He receives the instructions of the Brahmana, and he's the one that implements the instructions given by the Brahmanas. So he's active intelligence. And then there's the lazy fool. He's like the Vaishya. He's doing business, and he's doing, he's also kind of, he knows how to make money. He's kind of also sitting down, giving direction to the active fool, which is the Sudra. And the active fool is the worst, because they don't take good advice. Or Prabhupada said that he compares them to the monkey. The monkey he's the active fool. He's very active, but everybody, as soon as someone sees a monkey, everybody grabs a stick or something, because there's mischief. They're going to cause difficulty. Just like throughout the world, there's Sudras leading countries. And therefore there's so much chaos. Therefore there was this big chaos we had last week. Not actually a Kshatriya. Just causing chaos. And this is all around the world. Countries are being led by people who are not Kshatriyas. They're Sudras. So one time a devotee asked Prabhupada, it would be very good, or he actually made a statement, it'd be good if you were president, Prabhupada. No, I wouldn't want to be president, but I could advise the president. This is what Prabhupada said he would do if he were in such a situation. So we get purified by this service to Krishna. Prabhupada wanted brahmanas within society. He said there's enough Sudras. There's practically no Vaishyas, very few Kshatriyas, but what we need is brahmanas, and they guide society on how to serve. There's one pastime of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who he went to Bhakti Siddhanta for some advice. He had some doubts. And one of his servants, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's servants, told him, this educated person, he wanted to speak to him. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he told his servant, tell him to go and do some service in the kitchen. So, although he was an educated, nice gentleman, he thought, okay. So he went and he did some service in the kitchen. And after a few hours of doing service there, the question that he had was answered, by doing service. So that was the point. Bhaktisiddhanta says, if you do service, then Krishna reveals. He didn't even go see Bhaktisiddhanta. He was satisfied. He got the answer. He was amazed. So it's by service that we understand Krishna. And of course, in this age, the best way to understand Krishna is how? Chanting, chanting Hare Krishna. This is the process in this age for understanding Krishna. There's so many. There's a verse. There's so many faults. Kalar doshnid herajan asti heka mahadgan kirtana deva Krishna's mukta sangha parambaja. That there's so many faults in this age. You don't have to look far. There's so many faults in this age. But the one good quality of this age is that simply by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, one can become completely purified and develop one's love for Krishna. I was telling one student about this at a university, and how this age is just filled with so many faults. And he said, yeah, boy, you could say that again. He said he had just read in the newspaper that there was a doctor, he was a psychiatrist, and he had a patient with about 10 different split personalities. So he was treating this patient, and he had a brilliant idea. I'll charge each of the different split personalities. So one of the split personalities had enough intelligence to take this psychiatrist to court. And when the judge heard what this psychiatrist, couldn't believe it, he took his license away. He had to go to jail for like 2 years or something. Such cheaters, can you imagine? I mean, cheating is going on. I remember I had some problem with my teeth. Still doing a little bit. So I went to one dentist, and he they give the X-ray, but he came up with this, that I had so many cavities, I had this problem and that problem, and I knew it wasn't true. That I'd been to other dentists also. I mean, it's completely illegal what they're doing, but to go through and catch them, actually, is very difficult. So much, if you don't know anything, they take advantage of you. Auto mechanics, all these, in Miami we had these people, they used to come and fix our elevator. We don't know anything about elevators. So they were just, jacking up the price. So whatever you don't know about, they take advantage. Vijabhushan, he used to help a lot. So therefore they cheat. If you don't know, just like therefore also in the spiritual circles, people don't know who is a sadhu, who is a guru, so they cheat. They cheat so much. It's terrible. And Prabhupada said, I've not come here to cheat you. I've come to give Krishna to you. So again, we're so fortunate. So of course, we hear every day that in this chanting of Hare Krishna, by which we can get purified, there's many offenses we have to avoid. And there's two main ones that we regularly commit. Inattentive. It's difficult to be attentive. If you don't have that taste, if you don't have the ruchi, then it's difficult to hear attentively. But somehow we have to beat our mind. Yeah, that's when the real beating has to take place. Yeah. But you know what I found? I don't know if I've mentioned this, probably have, but it's good to hear again. The best way I found to be attentive in japa was from what I heard from Bhakti Swami. When he would chant, and he found he was inattentive, he would stop, and he would back up one or two beats, and then he would go forward. That just checks the mind, and then you go forward again. Yeah. Otherwise, the mind just keeps going, and there's no end to where the mind's going to go. So you have to check the mind. I've been doing this for years. It's great. It's fantastic. Still chanting a little inattentive, but anyway, it's a little better. The mind. So, and there's an example. One devotee gave a nice example. He said that, imagine if you're in a city, a city where it's crime-ridden, like the most crime-ridden place in SanDiego. Where is that? Which city? Which part is that? San Isidro, I heard. It's pretty. San Isidro is pretty bad, I heard. Huh? Anyway. So imagine there's someone buys a house in San Isidro, and he doesn't know it's crime-ridden, so he puts all his stuff in there, and he's working hard, putting all his furniture in there, and he leaves the doors wide open. He's got his stereo in there, he's got his furniture in there, he's got his TV, he's got all his stuff in there, and he just leaves all his doors wide open. Now, what are the chances of his things still being there in the morning? They're very small, right? Because it's a very crime-ridden area. So similarly, if we're chanting and we're inattentive, then this is like leaving the windows open for the thieves to come in. But if we're not chanting at all, then Maya just comes and just takes whatever little bit of devotion we have, just finished. Because this is what keeps Maya at bay, chanting the holy names of Krishna. But still, if we're inattentive, then that means we're leaving the windows open, so the thieves can still come, Maya can still come in and take away whatever devotion we have. So we have to hear attentively. It's so important. And the other problem that we mostly have, that I find that I have and many others, maintaining material attachments, even though understanding so many instructions, even though hearing so many instructions on this. So we have to hear again and again. This is Maya. There's no real happiness in this world. No matter how much you look, you're not going to find the happiness that the soul is looking for. So by this hearing, by this chanting, we're cleansing the mirror of the heart. And as recently read, Prabhupada said, we're shining the soul. We're shining the soul, trying to make the soul clean. One time Prabhupada said, cleansing the hearts of my disciples is like cleansing coal. You can't cleanse coal. I mean, coal is just black. All through, it's just black. So he compared our hearts to like that. It's so dirty. But Lord Chaitanya is so merciful that even our coal-like hearts can be cleansed. Lord Chaitanya, he can do the impossible. Yeah. He's the most merciful. So we have to keep this cleaning going on. Now I have something I want to read. You may appreciate this. I was instructed by Javita that to say something about book distribution. Since I have this book, this is a letter written to Shiva Ramaswamy, who, amazing what he did in Hungary. I mean, there was nothing there, and he went there, and it's just one of the most dynamic projects we have in ISKCON. Now, they have a beautiful farm there, and temples around, and so book distribution, just dynamic. So this is a letter written to him by a girl. I think she's about 12 or 13. She says, Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. I hope you do not mind my writing to you. I have never written to a spiritual master before. You do not know me. My name is Bhakti Dora, and I live in Pécs, Hungary. I am 14 years old, and I live at home with my mother and older sister. Some years ago, I went to the Hare Krishna festival with a friend. I was not very interested, but I enjoyed the chanting and dancing at the end. After it was over, I bought a book, The Science of Self-Realization. I do not know why. Generally, I never read. I think it was because of the chanting. I took the book home and cannot remember what happened to it. One day my mother found it and was very angry with me. She thought that I was reading this kind of thing. You see, our family members are all very strict Catholics. They thought Krishna consciousness was some kind of brainwashing. Actually, I wasn't reading the book. I had forgotten all about it. Somehow it just appeared. Anyway, my mother was going to throw it away. My grandmother, who was 68, was in the kitchen at the time. She lives in the apartment upstairs. She came in and took the book. She looked at it and scolded me very heavily. I thought that would be the end of it. I did not mind so much, as I was in a lot of Maya at the time. About a week later, I overheard a conversation between my mother and my grandmother. Granny was saying that this was not some ordinary book. She said that what Prabhupada was saying is what Jesus Christ said, and that Krishna is God. I was very surprised. She said we should listen to what Prabhupada said and chant Hare Krishna, because that was the religion of this age. There was a lot of talk about how Christianity was no more and no one was following the Bible. But what Prabhupada said was pure and perfect. Things really took a turn from there. One day my grandmother visited the Namhat, a local Christian center here, and began to chant on beads. She also began to buy Prabhupada's books one by one. She was spending all her pension buying what she called the beautiful, holy Bhagavatam. Sometimes she could only afford to eat potatoes, but she kept buying the books. The devotees even came to her flat and helped her set up an altar. When I went upstairs, there were Krishna pictures everywhere. That was really the beginning. One night Granny had a dream about Prabhupada. Something really happened to her then. I don't know what it was, but she began to get very enthusiastic. Next she began to get the whole family involved. I mean, not just me and my mother and sister, but her 2 sons, their wives, and 6 children, as well as her brothers, sisters, and relatives. Before, she used to carry a Bible with her and quote Jesus Christ. Now she has a Bhagavad Gita and quotes the good Lord Prabhupada. She became a veritable transcendental terror. Everyone in the family has to chant at least 1 round a day. In addition, Granny made everyone become a vegetarian, including my dog Shikra. And we offer our food to a picture of Prabhupada and Lord Chaitanya. Now I am also getting out of Maya and chanting and reading a little also. Where I go to school, my friends inquire about Krishna, since they know I am a devotee. the whole family goes to the Namhat, all 16 of us. During the Christmas Marathon for book distribution, we all tried to distribute Prabhupada's books. Even Granny would take books with her to the market and sell them to the vendors. Everyone is afraid of her because she is fearless. They all think she's gone crazy, but she doesn't care. Now she is saving to go to Budapest to see the newly installed deities. She has heard that Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda came to Hungary and are being worshipped there by the devotees. She says she wants to see God just once in this life. At this year's Hare Krishna festival, you were speaking to the guests after the kirtan. You must remember my grandmother because she came and sat right beside you and asked so many questions. At the end, when you stood to leave, she even kissed your hand. Remember? I also wanted to ask a question. I also wanted to ask you a question, but I was shy. Could I please ask you now? I hope you do not mind, Maharaj. I want to know what kind of man Prabhupada was. He must be so dear to Krishna to have spread this message all over the world. What are these books that changed my family so much? How is it possible that he can speak so powerfully through them? You must feel very fortunate to be his disciple. How great a man he is! Sometimes, when my granny chants in front of a picture of Krishna, she cries. How does Prabhupada do that? I want to cry like that too. Granny dreams of Prabhupada, and sometimes she talks to his picture. Although it says on the cover of the book that he passed away, is Prabhupada really dead? Or is he still alive? Do you think I can meet him someday? I'm sorry that I have gone on so much. I would like to be a good devotee one day and help you and Prabhupada spread Krishna consciousness. Please, could you answer my questions? Your servant, Bhakti Dora. That's the power of Prabhupada's books, huh? This is, it must be at least 10 years ago. Maybe more than that. It was before the deities were installed there in Budapest. So that might have, maybe 15 years ago. Yeah. I don't think so. But it'll be in my book. So, isn't that beautiful? Is there any question or comment? Okay, thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki